Did you know that 1 in every 5 people in this world is a senior citizen? And in India alone, we have more than 9% of our population as the elderly. But then here's a question that I want to ask all of you. Do you consider senior citizens as a blessing, or do you sometimes feel they are a burden? Either ways, watch this video till the end, because today you will learn that what can the youth learn from the elderly and what can the youth do for the elderly. And if you are new to this channel, then do subscribe and press the bell icon so that when I launch a new video, you are the first one to see it. So let's get started. So namaste dosto, my name is Abhay Valsangkar and I'm a confidence coach and I welcome you to this channel. The United Nations celebrate 21st of August each year as the World Senior Citizens Day to honor their contribution towards the progress of the countries. So let's first see the first phase, which is nothing but what can the youth learn from the elderly. Now sometimes the current generation feels that we are too cool for school. We are too good and we don't need anyone's help, or we don't need to look up, and they are also outdated. But this is what I want all of us to understand, that as youth, these are the 5 things that you can easily learn from the senior citizen. So for the first one, let me give you an example of this picture. So these are my parents, and if you see my mom and my dad, senior citizens, are taking a selfie. Now what is so special about this selfie? If you look clearly, it's not about the perfect picture. It's not about the perfect angle. It's not about the perfect background. It's not about taking 10 different pictures and then adding filters and then editing it. No, it's only about that moment wherein they are enjoying something and they are attempting to fit into the current culture, and they are taking a selfie, and then that's it for them. The memory is created. So it's never about the perfect picture. It's about the people in that picture which makes it perfect. And this is what the youth can learn from the elderly, that live in the moment. A lot of times we now move towards the digital age wherein editing, wherein adding effects and all of that has taken primary seat, and the true person behind is somewhere lost. And this is one thing that you can learn from them, that they don't do it for the approval, for the validation of people. They don't do it for likes, comments and shares. They only do it for themselves because it's a memory that they want to capture. And for them, that's the reason that they are very much satisfied with the single attempt that they do, because they do it for a memory. They don't do it for anything else. Whereas we take 10 different pictures from 10 different angles and we aren't satisfied at the end, and we still feel something is missing. And that's the first thing that we can learn from that live in the moment. It's about the people in the picture and it's not about the perfect picture. The second thing that the youth can learn from the elderly is their loyalty. So let me give you another example. How many of you have shifted or changed a lot of jobs in the past few years? Just go ahead and type me in the comment box so that I know that you are with me. Because this is exactly what has happened. In India today, loyalty has reduced tremendously. And now when you look at the senior citizens, if I look at my mom, she has been working in one organization for the last 38 years. And then she retired there. So she started at scratch, and from there now, that has been a whole journey. And she says that is what is loyalty for us. And I think that's a big lesson that all of us as the young generation can take from the elderly, that be loyal to the people, be loyal to the work, because that is what gives you the focus, the determination to then go along. Because today our decision making is a little tricky. We are in that generation wherein taking the decision itself is a big thing. Right or wrong doesn't matter. Whereas you look at that generation of the elderly, they took decisions, they took the risk. Why? Because they knew that that was the way they wanted to go ahead. They had clarity, which was only possible because they had the determination to go ahead with what they wanted as a choice. And that is where loyalty comes into the picture. So this is the second thing that we can learn from the elderly, is the loyalty that they show towards their work or towards the people around. The third thing that the youth can learn from the elderly is their ability to adapt. Now, I think this is one of the biggest game changers for this current generation, that we are so prone and so dependent on one thing that suddenly if that thing goes away, we are very rigid, our ego comes in between, and then we don't want to adapt to the moving conditions. Whereas if you look at the elderly, they have the ability to adapt, they have the ability to adjust, which is like a given in them. You don't even have to ask them. Whenever I speak with my mother or my grandmother, when we had conversations, she used to always say there used to be around 20 people residing and 20 people sleeping and staying together in that one small house. And now we talk about privacy, we talk about our own rooms. But the point being that this is a kind of generation for whom adjustment was the given. They didn't even have to ask for, they would always be ready to do it. But today, the current generation, if we ask them to adjust something, they'll be like, oh no, I need my own privacy, I need my own this, own that. So that's the difference, and I think that is what the youth can learn from the elderly, the ability to adapt and the ability to adjust, and that is what has got them so far, and they are the reason why the entire family sticks together. And that's what we can learn from them, their ability to adjust and adapt. The fourth thing that the youth can learn from the elderly is their ability to be selfless. We are now thinking only about 3 people in this world: I, me, and myself. And that's the biggest problem. If you ever look at the elderly or the senior citizens, they don't care about themselves, they care about everybody else. Each and everything that they do, they think about the family, they think about everyone else. And that is how they're selfless to a level that they don't even ask for anything. And you must have observed this, that if a senior citizen is asking for something, it means that it is a tremendous, urgent or an important thing, else they would have never asked for. I had seen my grandmom at the age of 80, and more than that, she's doing everything for herself. Why? Because for her to ask somebody else to do something for her, that was a big thing. She would never ever do that. And I think that's exactly what we can learn from people who are the elderly or the senior citizens, that learn to be selfless. Stop thinking about I, me and myself, and start thinking about others and the people around. And I'm sure that's a valuable lesson that we can learn from them. The fifth thing that the youth can learn from the elderly is their ability to be accountable. So when the current generation is given some work, we try to find a way out of the work. Somehow or the other, we try to brush it under the carpet. So we don't go into the details. Whereas if you look at the elderly, they are accountable for the work that they do. Even if nobody is watching, they'll still do it. And most importantly, if there is no work, then the elderly create work out of that situation. How many of you agree to this, that the elderly in the house are never ever at one place? They're always doing something or the other. They would arrange things. If they are arranged, they would again arrange them. They would always keep things clean. They find work. They don't just wait till the work is given to them. And I think that's what we can learn from them in our personal life and also in the business life that we have, that always and always be accountable for your actions, be proactive. And I think that's the major lesson that we can learn from the elderly, because they are not the ones who are playing the waiting game, that they're not trying to hide that why are people giving me work. They are the ones coming on the forefront, taking actions and taking that work in their hands, being accountable for who they are. And I think that's a big lesson. How many of you think that the 5 things that you learned right now is very useful to you? If yes, then let me know by typing in useful in the comments below. But now the real question is that what can the youth do for the elderly? Because yes, we get to learn from them, from their experiences, but we tend to forget the fact that at that age, they need us. They need us to be their support. So what exactly can we do as youth without having to spend tons of money? What is it that the youth can do for the elderly is what we are about to see right now. So how many of you agree to the fact that yes, there comes a phase wherein they need help, and then we need to stand up, we need to raise our game, and we need to help them? If you agree to that, then please type yes in the comments so that I know that you are with me. So the first thing that the youth can do for the elderly is to listen to them, and that's one of the biggest things that ever can be done. Most of the times, all the elderly people require is for someone to sit and listen to them. That's it. Without judging them, without giving them advice, or without cutting them off. But give them an opportunity to be at that position wherein they can guide you with full force, not thinking as if, am I worth it? So people associate money with respect, which is wrong. And that's why the elderly, once they don't have a source of income, if they don't have pension, they feel very small. They feel, would people listen to me? Do I have that in my house wherein people would still respect to me, since I'm not bringing in a lot of wealth in the house? And that's where I think as the young generation, we can step up and we can be close to them just to listen to what they have to say without being judgmental, without offering an advice. So that's the first thing that the youth can do for the elderly. So the second thing that the youth can do for the elderly is to help them to adapt to the changing times. So what do I mean by that? My grandmother, more than 80 years of age, has a smartphone, has Instagram installed. She knows how to take a picture. She knows how to put it on Instagram. She knows how to tag people. Now they are willing to learn if you're willing to teach them. Now whole of their life, they are the ones teaching us, and it's time now that we can do something for them, because this is something that for us might be very easy, but for them might be challenging. But if you bring them to this platform, then I think this is one of the best things that you can do to help them be in touch with what the current scenario is. So how many of you have senior citizens at your place who are very active on WhatsApp? If you have that, then please type active in the comments box so that I know that you are with me. So once they're active on these platforms, You might feel that they're forwarding messages which are fake news, or you might feel that they're sending messages which are untrue, or they're spamming with the good morning pictures. But this is what you need to realize. They are doing it for others, they're not doing it for themselves. So you need to be patient with them to help them understand and take that digital jump, which is equally important. So this is what we have done. So my mother has now an Instagram account. She takes a rangoli every single day. She takes a picture and then she puts it on Instagram every single day. And I think this is what we can do for them, that give them a platform wherein they can be connected to their old friends, to their old batchmates through WhatsApp and through other platforms also. The third thing that the youth can do for the elderly is to give them priority. Currently, if you see, the youth is much focused on how to create a digital presence, but at the same time, we forget the people around in the house. And that's why it is very, very important to take care of the elderly by giving them priority. Now, typically, if you have an elderly person in your house, then are they on the top priority of your list? Is it only for social validation that you say yes, or is it because actually you give them a lot of time? So understand this, they don't need your money. All they need is for you to sit down with them and spend some quality time by giving them priority and considering their request as equally important as everyone else's in the house. So as I said earlier, the senior citizen generation is not such that they would ask everything from everyone. They are the ones who feel very, very shameful to ask something to someone, and that's why if they are asking something from you, then you need to keep it as a high priority. And that's what we can do for the elderly, is to give them time and to treat them as a higher priority in our life. So the fourth thing the youth can do for the elderly is to treat them with dignity. So with age, our reflexes, our thought process, our memory tend to take a hit. And that is the reason why, for example, say if there's an elderly person in your house and if they spill some water on the floor, instead of reacting as if this was a nuclear attack, let's just go and wipe it out. No need to tell them and call them out by saying this is what you're doing wrong. Treat them with some dignity. It can happen with anyone and everyone. And that's exactly what you need to do for them. If they tend to forget and if they keep the tap on, don't need to go and tell them and yell at them saying, why have you done this? Close the tap and then you can take care whenever it's possible. So this is called as being careful, being empathetic towards them and treating them with the respect and the dignity that they deserve. So instead of just calling out and yelling, do it yourself if you can. And yes, in some extreme cases, like for example, if somebody keeps the gas on, then it's okay to tell them that this is what has happened. But again, the tone matters a lot. You don't have to yell at them, treat them with dignity. That is very, very important. So the fifth thing that the youth can do for the elderly is to stop being rebellious. Most of the times when the youth comes to a part of teenage and above, it is cool to not to listen to your parents or your grandparents. It is cool to do exactly opposite to what they say. Now, in the factor of being cool, this is exactly how you turn into a rebel, wherein if they say something, your primary motive is to go against that. And there's a different level of happiness that you get when you go against what is said to you. Now, we don't realize in this fact, in this matter of being cool and being socially perceived as one, you tend to lose a bond between the most important people in your life. And that is why stop being rebellious. If you agree to what they say, great, follow it. If you don't, then explain it in a way which is not rebellious and explain it why it is important for you to do it even after them saying no. But do not be a rebel just for the fact to go against them, to prove a point or do anything that serves your ego, because that is not something that we would love to do for them. So that was the fifth way in which the youth can help the senior citizens. How many of you agree that the 5 things that the youth can do for the elderly which you learned right now is very, very important? Please go ahead and type important in the comments box. Now let us quickly revise the 5 different ways in which we can learn from them and in which we can do something for them. Number 1, live in the moment. Number 2, be loyal to your work and your family. Number 3, learn to adapt and adjust from them. Number 4, be selfless. And number 5, be accountable for your work. Now let's quickly revise the 5 things that the youth can do for the elderly. So the number 1 is to listen to them without judging them. Number 2 is to encourage them to adapt towards the digital age. Number 3, give them a priority. Number 4, treat them with dignity. And number 5, stop being a rebel. So I hope from this video, you got a lot of value in terms of how the youth can learn from the elderly and at the same time, how the youth can do something for the elderly. And if you did so, then share this video with all the senior citizens that you know as a sign of tribute and gratitude to them for being a blessing and not a burden in our life. So thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and do like it and do share it with all your friends also, and keep watching more videos on this channel for your daily dose of inspiration. Thank you.